We're just starting. What we're doing initially is, this is my first trip to Iowa since we launched the campaign. We've got an office, we've got a campaign director here, so we're traveling around to the different parts of the state. Happy to be here, and we're going to come back, and we have a 99 county strategy where we'll spend time in each and every part of the state and get to know the people. Let me say this, Wall Street is not going to buy this election. There are people out there now who are raising $100,000 a pop. One candidate said, "Don't give me more than $1 million to my PAC." Come on, that's not. I don't think that's going to impress the people of Iowa. We were talking with someone earlier today, and they were saying we want to have all the candidates come here. Iowa has winnowed out and credentialed candidates historically. I'm taking my candidacy, my set of issues, right to the people here because I respect their part in this process, and so I'm going to be getting around and getting to know all 99 counties, and we're going to do that over the next few months.
Yeah, but you hadn't had a chance to take any tours around Waverly itself.
No, just got to Waverly, and we're just trying to cover a fair amount of territory on this initial swing, but we will be back.
I'll say there's the Midwest's largest horse sale that happens twice a year down up at the sales barn in the northwest part of town. Thought about maybe going up there to see some of the people up there.
That would be very interesting. I'd love to do that. Never had a horse. Not a particularly talented rider. My sister, she's no longer with us, but she, growing up in Yonkers, New York, a horse wasn't the kind of thing you had in your backyard, but she would have loved to have had one.
And where else have you been in the state so far?
Well, we started out over in the Omaha area, then we went up to Siouxland, and then we've made our way to Mason City last night. Now we're here. We're going to go through Cedar Falls and end up in Des Moines, so Waterloo. We're pretty much, I think it's a fair amount of time in the car, if you will, for our first visit.
So a little bit of a whirlwind tour for your first time.
A little bit, and actually I've been to Iowa before, Davenport, Des Moines, in different assignments along the way, but I notched my first little trip into South Dakota for a couple of hours yesterday, just to do, because there was a TV station that came into the state, so we're getting around, and we'll get to know the state well. Well, I do think that we did what it took. President Bush and many others did what it took to confront the immediate problem of Al-Qaeda, and took strong action after 9/11. And the president kept the country safe. But I don't think that we really recognized adequately, and certainly this administration has failed to understand the broader threat of radical Islam. And the president has said in the State of the Union, the crisis has passed. Well, I don't think that's the case at all. I think we're in a long-term, very challenging period that will last for decades, where there are radical terrorist organizations that are going to come and go and are going to challenge America and the West. We need to be able to deal with that. And we need to recognize that beyond this radical ideology, ISIS is now a state. It controls a lot of territory, so it is a state. It is not some movement in the shadows that has networks and cells that will emerge from time to time. It is actually a state. So we need to throw away this lead from behind failed strategy that we've had. America has traditionally been the leader of the free world and respected by others. Not necessarily agreed with by all parties, but respected, and certainly over the decades played a stabilizing influence. So I would do more. If I'm elected, I will not draw a red line that I don't expect to enforce, and nor will I identify a serious threat to our security, as the president has, but limit our options. I think it's totally inconsistent to say ISIS is a serious threat, but I won't have boots on the ground. I would do more in terms of forward spotters for put in more air support, and I would also consider special operations at this time to make sure we're getting after ISIS, and encourage, of course, I think if we do more, other countries that are concerned about this will do more also.
Just to follow up then on that, do you think that the reason why President Obama has been reluctant to put quote-unquote boots on the ground is because of the war weariness between Iraq and Afghanistan?
I think war weariness is a factor, but I also believe that he has sort of tried to pull back to a more traditional, we're not going to be as interventionist. Unfortunately, I don't think the world gives us, you have to be realistic about what's happening in the world. And I worry, I just don't think he's, most presidents change, they learn over the course of the job. You look at President Jimmy Carter, he was only in for one term, he took some decisions, but he changed his policies after the Soviets went into Afghanistan. We're doing exactly the same thing in the same way. We've been doing it for 6 years now, and it's not working. The world is getting more dangerous, not less dangerous. I think it's a real blunder to be dealing with Iran in the way that we are at this time. Potentially catastrophic. This is a nation at a time in the world when anti-Semitism is on the rise. On the rise. Look at what's happening in Europe. You have now a nation that has never walked back or repudiated the desire to destroy Israel. They've got increasingly important positions in different territories around the Middle East. Look at just in recent news, the Saudis now taking military action in Yemen. And we're going to deal with these folks, and we're saying, well, we've got an agreement that's going to last 10 years. 10 years is but the blink of an eye in that part of the world. We seem to be feeling, okay, we're going to deal with these guys, get an agreement, everybody's going to move on. I just don't think that makes any sense whatsoever.
So do you think we'll end up the talks will deteriorate and we end up in war with Iran?
I'm not suggesting that. I don't know where the talks will go. I'm just extremely wary about what is going on. We don't know what the contours of the deal are, but what has been leaked, we're going to hold this in place for 10 years. 10 years is nothing in that part of the world. Mm-hmm. They don't have a short term, well, let's get to 2 years from now when we have the next election. That's not what they're talking. I am a constitutional conservative. I respect the limits of the powers of the presidency. I think more and more states are dealing with this issue. I don't think it's a federal issue. I yield to the courts on this issue in its entirety.
Do you think it will be a civil rights issue?
I think that's sorting through the courts right now. So I don't think that's an issue the president does need to or should weigh in on. I think marriage is very important. Look, I failed. I earned the end of my marriage. I did. And I think I've learned. I think that was an extremely painful experience. Look, I hurt someone I cared about. I failed there. I lost a very good, important job and ability to contribute running the Red Cross. And it was all very public. So, but I think we should do what we can to recognize the value and the importance of marriage. But I also believe the Republican Party needs to understand that there are many millions of people that are doing their best to raise families. The most important thing we need to stand for is we need to have the value of hard work in the country, that people work hard, and that they take care of their children. Mm-hmm. If we do those two things, we're going to be okay. And so we can't, we need to love others and have a very Christian approach to these issues. I failed in marriage, but yes, I believe marriage is important. On abortion, I've said that I am pro-life. I think that's important. my position is it's really evolved over the years. If you look at capital punishment, I also say my sister was a victim of a serial murder, a very painful chapter, of course. And in the end, that individual died in prison after 25 years. I would have said to you years ago, I was strongly in favor of capital punishment. I now believe that life is precious, so I think that even though it's painful sometimes for people to carry a child to term, I believe that it's only in the instance of the danger to the life of the mother or the child that I would support the abortion.
What about rape and incest?
I would ask, however painful it is, I have 2 adopted children, and I love them both. I would ask that woman, however painful it is, to carry the child to term if she can, and then give it up for adoption. That's what I would ask. I think what the Republican Party is going through is exactly what the country needs. In contrast to the Democrats, where they seem to be marching towards an anointing of Hillary Clinton, we're going to have a robust conversation. I fall into different places depending on the issue, and I think that my goal is to surface important issues, and I think we should be broadening the party rather than narrowing it. But I think I can tell you we're going to have great conversations, and the people of Iowa are going to play a critical role here. That's why I'm going to go to all 99 counties and get the questions just as you've asked, and people are going to make their own decisions here. And once again, the fat cats who are giving $100,000 or $1 million a pop, they're not going to make the decision. The people right here are going to start making those decisions.